That is not possible. She cleans my house. She cleans my floors.
The woman who had scrubbed floors for 11 months just walked into a $10,000 gala wearing a gown that no amount of money could buy. Stay until the end. You will understand everything. To understand this, we have to go back. Back to a Tuesday morning in a bucket of soapy water. She had been on her knees since 6 in the morning. The marble was cold. The soap smelled like chemicals in someone else's life. 11 months of this. 11 months of invisible hands doing visible work for a woman who never once said thank you.
Odera, you missed the baseboards in the guest room again.
She wiped the baseboard clean. She did not look up. She did not react. She never reacted.
She is efficient, I will give her that. But she has no polish whatsoever.
Oh, she heard you. Trust me, she always hears you.
But she heard everything. Every laugh, every whispered word, every conversation held just loudly enough for her to hear.
Odera, I have something exciting to tell you. Come here a moment. The Kensington Gala, Saturday. 10,000 a seat. I am giving you a ticket. Wear whatever you have. I am sure you will find something appropriate.
She stood in that room holding the towel. She did not cry. She did not flinch. Something quieter happened. Something was decided. They laughed all the way down the hallway. The kind of laughter that cost nothing to give and everything to receive. But Odera was not thinking about the laughter. She was thinking about a phone call she had not made in 6 months. The apartment was small. The furniture had been borrowed from other lives. The phone was the only expensive thing she owned.
Mama, I need the emerald dress. The one from Paris.
She set the phone down. The decision had already been made. 11 months of silence. 11 months of proving what she needed to prove. Enough. 6,000 miles away, in a studio that smelled of dye and warm cotton, a mother pressed one hand over her heart and reached for the garment closet. What nobody in that city knew, what Margot would never have imagined, Odera was not who she appeared to be, not remotely. She moved through the city like everyone else who worked with their hands. Nobody looked twice. Nobody wondered. That was the point.
11 months I gave this city. That is enough.
The package arrived the next morning. Not by mail. It arrived with a driver in a black car, followed by 4 people carrying cases. Her mother's team. The emerald silk spilled from the garment bag like something alive. The gold thread constellations caught every photon of light in that small room. There was a note inside, handwritten. She read it once, then again. Then she held it against her chest and closed her eyes. The note said, "You were never invisible. You were only choosing to be quiet. Come home when you are ready." She looked at herself in the mirror. Not a housekeeper, not someone's daughter playing pretend. Just herself. Finally, entirely herself. Across the city, Margot adjusted her earrings and smiled at her own reflection. She had no idea what was coming.
Celeste, tonight is going to be absolutely perfect. Wait until you see her.
They arrived at the gala expecting a spectacle, expecting humiliation served on crystal, expecting to watch a woman drown in a room where she did not belong.
Do you think she even owns a proper dress? This is gonna be tragic.
That is the entire point, darling. Everyone will see exactly what she is.
But then the doors opened, and a silence fell that no one in that room had ever heard before. She walked through the entrance like she had been walking through entrances her entire life, because she had. The gold constellations scattered tiny lights across the marble walls. The crowd did not part on purpose. They simply could not stand close enough. And then Margot saw her. The champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. The floor tilted. The world tilted with us.
That embroidery, that is a Malaika original. The constellation gown from the Paris closing. That gown was never released. The Malaika family keeps every closing piece.
She did not know yet. She did not understand. But the ground beneath her certainty had already cracked wide open. Odera reached the ballroom floor. The crowd parted. Phones lifted. The silence carried more weight than any applause could.
Mrs. Ashford, thank you so much for the invitation tonight. You said to wear whatever I had. I hope this is appropriate.
Margot could not speak. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The room was watching, and the room already knew.
Margot, that dress. How does she have that dress?
The room erupted in waves. A gasp, a ripple, then the full roar of 200 people processing the same impossible truth at once. Within 20 minutes, Odera was the center of the room. Editors, executives, the charity chairwoman, all drawn toward her as though gravity had shifted. Margot discovered what it felt like to be invisible. The eyes that slid away, the conversations that stopped, the space no one wanted to fill.
Tell me exactly what you did. You invited our housekeeper as a joke. And she is Lucille Malaika's daughter. The Malaika Group partners with 3 firms I have been courting for 2 years. Fix this tonight. Or you will fix it without my name attached to yours.
She stood where nobody could see her. For the first time in her adult life, she understood what it cost to take up space and have no one want you in it. She walked toward the alcove at the back. It was the longest walk of her life. Every step was heavier than the last.
Odera, can I speak with you? Please. I am sorry. I was trying to humiliate you. I treated you terribly.
Why were you cruel to me?
Because I thought you could not do anything about it. Because I thought it was safe.
You were not cruel because of anything I did. You were cruel because you assumed you could be. I forgive you. But tonight showed you something about yourself. Carry that.
She stood alone in the alcove after Odera left. One hand covered her mouth. Her eyes were shut. The truth sat on her chest like a stone. Odera walked back into the light. The emerald gown caught it and held it. She moved through the golden room like water returning to its own current. In the quiet hallway, a child sat swinging her legs on a marble bench, watching, noticing, the way only children notice.
Why is everyone being nice to her now, but they were not before? She was the same person the whole time. The dress did not change who she is.
A child saw what 200 adults nearly missed. The dress did not change who she was. The room did. 2 days later, Odera was packing boxes in the small apartment. 11 months of living without her name. 11 months answered. There was a knock at the door. Margot stood in the hallway. No designer outfit, no armor, just a woman who had spent 2 days becoming honest.
You really lived like this. The whole time. All those months.
That was the point. To find out who I am without the name.
I have been noticing things this week. How I speak to people I think do not matter.
I want to be different. I do not know how without being shown I was terrible first.
Most of us do not. That is what growth looks like. It starts ugly.
They stood in the doorway. Something new existed between them. Not friendship, not yet, but the beginning of something that required honesty to build. Odera looked at the empty apartment one last time. The walls had held her through 11 months of quietly becoming. She picked up her bag and walked out without looking back. Some doors close easily when you have already become the person you were moving toward. The embrace lasted a long time. Neither woman let go first. 11 months of distance closed in a single held breath.
You came home. My girl came home.
I know who I am now, Mama. I finally know.
Lucille Malaika had built a design empire from a rented studio in Lagos. By the time Odera was 12, the name was displayed on museum walls and royal stages. Now, mother and daughter stood side by side in the studio, building something new together. Not because of the name, because of what it meant. The collection was called The Invisible Line. Every stitch was designed in collaboration with domestic workers who had spent their careers making wealthy lives possible.
The venue confirmed. 50 seats in the front row, all reserved for the workers.
Every single one of them gets a piece from the collection. Non-negotiable.
50 photographs, 50 stories, housekeepers, nannies, hospital orderlies, assistants, every one of them named, every one of them seen. Lucille worked the fabric with hands that had been creating for 30 years. Each garment carried the story of someone who had been overlooked. The collection told a truth that most rooms refuse to hear. The people who hold everything together are often the last ones anyone holds. 8 months of work, 8 months of listening, 8 months of turning pain into something that could dress a woman in her own worth. Paris, a private venue near the Seine. The runway was lit, the front row was full, and the faces sitting there had never been invited anywhere like this before. Odera watched through the curtain. The women in the front row were pressing their hands to their mouths. One was crying. The recognition on their faces said everything. Someone had finally seen them. Lucille took her daughter's hand backstage. No words, just the grip of a mother who understood exactly what this moment meant.
Look at them, Mama. Look at what we built.
After the show, Odera moved through the crowd, learning names. Real names. The names of women who had spent years being called by their job titles. And then, near the back of the room, she saw a familiar face. Margot, standing quietly before the photographs. Her eyes were red. She had changed.
You came. You came.
I needed to see what you built from what I tried to break.
They stood side by side, looking at the photograph. A hotel housekeeper, 22 years of service, 3 children sent through college. The caption said that none of them knew how hard it had been.
That night at the gala, I thought you came to destroy me. You had every reason.
Destroying you was never the point. The room needed to see its own assumptions. She was somebody before the dress, before the name. She was somebody because she was a person.
I am volunteering now, at a training center. It is uncomfortable in ways I did not expect.
That discomfort is good. Stay with it.
Thank you for being someone worth learning from, even when I did not deserve it.
They touched glasses. The photograph watched from the wall. A small gesture between two women who were both in different ways learning to see. Odera made a note to find the woman's real name, to make sure it was written somewhere permanent. That was the work now, making people permanent. She flew home the next morning. The apartment was quiet. Her mother was asleep. The design studio lamp was still on, as always. On the dress form near the window was a new sketch. The pencil lines were fast and intuitive. Along the bottom, in her mother's handwriting, were words that stopped Odera in the doorway. For the girl who went away and came back as herself. She stood there for a long time, reading those words. Not sad, not nostalgic, seen. It occurred to her clearly for the first time. She had never stopped being herself. Not once. Not for a single day during those 11 months. The name could be removed. The money, the access, the ease, all of it could disappear, and she would still be Odera. That was the answer. She had gone looking for proof. She found it in scrubbed grout, invisible mornings, and the steady calm that came from knowing herself from the inside out. The measure of who you are is not what you have. It is who you remain when everything is taken away. And it is how you treat the people who never had those things to begin with. That is the measure. That is the only one that matters. She had knelt on cold marble as a stranger. She had risen in emerald silk as herself. But she had been the same woman both times. The same woman, both times. The dress was beautiful. The moment was powerful. But the truth was simpler than any garment could express. Dignity is not something the world gives you. It is something you carry. And no one, no matter how cruel, can take it from you unless you let them. Maybe you know what that feels like. Moving through spaces where nobody looks twice. Doing work that nobody thanks you for. Remaining steady when the world is careless. Maybe someone in your life right now is being quiet in the same way Odera was. Not because they have nothing to say, because they are watching, because they are choosing. If this story made you feel something, I want to ask you one thing. Who in your life have you stopped seeing? Not because they disappeared, because you stopped looking. Here is what this story taught us. First, kindness given without expectation returns in ways you cannot predict. What you offer quietly may become the very thing that saves you later. Second, the way you treat someone who cannot fight back reveals more about you than any public performance ever will. Third, identity is not what the world calls you. It is who you remain in the silence, in the invisibility, and in the rooms where nobody is watching. If this story reached you, if it moves something in your chest, then do one thing. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Stories that ask real questions about who we are when nobody is looking. Leave a comment below and tell me this. Who in your life deserves to be seen more than they are right now? Hit the bell so you never miss a story. These are the conversations that change how we move through the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end. That matters more than you know. Until next time, carry this with you. And look, really look at the people around you today. The emerald dress caught the light, but the woman inside it had already been glowing long before the silk touched her skin. She walked forward, into the light, into herself, the same person she had always been. Some people wait a lifetime to discover who they are. Odera already knew. She just needed 11 months to believe it. And that is everything.